flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chris, seeming we have a few minutes before our first appointment. Anything you want to go over quickly?
Yeah, if you want, I'll just go with the Dufresne rentals.
Sure.
We have a birthday party on September 24th, 2022. Arriving 10 a.m., departing 4 p.m. Liquor authorized no. Maximum number of people is 50. They are renting the large pavilion, bathrooms, and gazebo. Then we have another birthday party on October 9th, 2022, arriving 11 a.m., departing 3:30 p.m. Liquor authorized no. Number of people 70, and they are also renting the large pavilion, bathrooms, and gazebo.
Okay.
If you have more time, if you want, I can just do a quick update on
Yeah, we got a few minutes.
the Muncie Bridge.
Sure. If you have a few minutes.
Basically, we had received correspondence from Attorney DeCruz that they have put the flags up and on the property as they're requested by the Conservation Commission. And then from the Conservation Commission, basically what they've done to date is the boundaries and corners of both the conservation restriction properties have been marked on the site by the survey engineer or the developer. The Conservation Commissioners have performed a cursory review of these boundaries and have found them to be satisfactory. A site visit is scheduled for Friday, September 9th, 2022, between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. to perform the first visit to document features of designated areas, and if necessary, future visits will be scheduled to complete this documentation process. The draft baseline report will be due for review 30 days after the final and complete documentation process. So,
All right, so it's moving forward.
it's moving forward slowly, but it's moving
Okay.
forward.
All right. All right.
And also the update on the Dufresne playground. Due to the rain, the inspection from the guy from M.E. O'Brien, who I think we originally purchased the equipment from, was postponed until tomorrow.
Okay.
Hopefully at the next meeting we'll have
All right.
something to that.
Has anybody been over there after the rain? How bad is the water? Do we know? Jeremy say anything?
What water?
The puddling up in the playground?
He didn't mention
He
it.
didn't mention, okay, good.
All right. All right, we have Cynthia Watson for the Village Buildings.
Yes.
Welcome. How are you?
First of all, I'd like to just put this on the table. You can slide it around
Sure.
so you can become a little more familiar with the village.
Okay.
This way.
Thank you.
Background on the village. For the 200th anniversary of the town of Granby, some gentlemen in the area, whether they were all from Granby or not, I have no idea, built replicas of some of the historic buildings that we have in town. After the parade for the 200th anniversary, and everything was dismantled and put away, the village, which had been at the West Street School, they were not in the parade as far as I have been able to determine with research at the GHA, of which I'm a trustee. So when they were putting things away, they took the village over to Howard Taylor's house and put them in the barn. They kind of dismantled them and just got rid of them as fast as they could, it looked like. Back in August of 2011 or 12, I think it was 2012, Maudetta Taylor called me and asked if I could help her to get those buildings out of the barn. They hadn't been touched, looked at, talked about, questioned about for 44 years. So Maudetta, being Maudetta, she wanted to make sure that anybody who was involved with this was someone she could trust or others that she could trust. So my significant other, Bob Clifton, and myself went over to Maudetta's, went into the barn, found everything in disarray. We had to clean it up and find what parts went with which building. We did that, and I contacted the fire department and asked if they could help us out in getting them out of the barn. We didn't have a truck or a trailer that was big enough for these 5 buildings. Have any of you seen them on the common?
In the,
Or you don't remember?
in the winter, they used to
Yeah.
light up the common, right? You guys used to put them around with lights in them?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
remember seeing them on the common in the winter when I drove by.
Yes.
Yeah.
What we did was, when we got them out of the barn, we had to have a place to put them, and I had asked the Granby Historical Association if we could put them in the barn there, because the barn was fairly useful at that point. And we did that, and I was at a church trustees meeting one evening, and I wasn't there about the village, but you know how you get an idea sometimes right up the top of your head? It was, could we put those buildings on the common during the holidays so people could enjoy them? They haven't seen them, most of the town, under certain ages, had never seen them, and others might remember, and maybe they would take an interest, and maybe people would like to pursue getting more historic buildings done in scale models, and use it as a tool for teaching, for fun, for quiet times. And anyway, I got some other people to help out. The first person I contacted was the children's librarian, Janice McCarl, and I asked her, I said, do you think this is a good idea? I want to put them on the common for the holidays. And she, yes, let's do it. So we did it, and it was successful. And I'm going to cut off right there. We need a place now for them to be stored where they're going to be safe, dry, and cared about, because we have to move them. We did move them out of the GHA barn with the help of the fire department once again, and they're stored in the fire department temporarily. So I'm asking that you give us permission, or give everyone the permission to have the village stored there. I became just kind of the caretaker of the buildings, but I'm going to have to give that up. I am not physically able to do as much work as I was doing, and a lot of my volunteers are in the same condition. So we'll try to stir some things up, but if we know that they're there and we let the community know that they're there, they belong to the community basically, because they were left. And we haven't been able to find the names of the people who built them, which is sad, but some records don't get kept or they get lost. That's why I'm here.
So right now, they're currently in the fire department?
Pardon?
They're currently in the fire department?
Yes.
That's where they are?
They were moved out last week, and they're in a bay in the department,
Okay.
where they have lots of room. It wasn't I called the fire chief and
Okay.
told him my predicament, I had to get them out by September 1st because the barn is going to be used for some other things, so.
Okay. You kind of answered one of my questions. Who owns them? Do we know? Do they go back to the people who built them, or were they given to the Historical Society?
They
Or
were
the?
stored in the barn and left, and no one ever questioned anything. When I had them out on the common, I would have a short program of sorts, but I had signs up. I would ask people if they knew who the men were who built them, because I think they were all men, and nobody seemed to know. Nobody could remember. The only thing that I found was people had said that they were in the parade. They weren't. They were over at the West Street School, and they had a program over there before the
I only remember one owner. I only remember one owner. It was my uncle, Phil Dennett.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Phil Dennett?
Oh, Phil.
Yeah.
Phil did the library.
He did the library one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was a good thing he did it when he did, because it was the year the new library opened, because he did it at home, so it wasn't really scale. And when he put it up, he thought, oh, gosh. And I said, well, that's all right, because this is the year we celebrate both the leaving and the going to the new one. And we need to remember this building.
Yeah, I don't know anybody else that built them.
So right now, the chief of the fire department, Chief O'Neill's okay with them there, but they're, I don't know if
That's a
they can stay
temporary
there. Yeah.
situation, and I told him what I was going to be doing, to ask if you would give permission for them to be stored at West Street School. I understand that West Street School isn't, they don't have much of anything going on there. And it's flat, it's dry, it's lit, it's heated, it has security. And anybody, any organization within the community, if they are going to take good care of it, they might want to take over, or there might be other people that would like to individually do something with the village. And it would become one of the archives of the town.
No, it's good to keep them and preserve them, especially the time and effort that went into building them. And then some nice pictures in there of them. I would think we should, if there's a way we can store them at West Street School.
They do come apart. We numbered everything, but when they were left in the barn the last time we took them in, it was so cold that we had to leave some of the buildings up. It was just too cold to take them apart. And people got sick, and we had COVID. And I had also called the trade school to ask if they maybe would be interested in building one of the historic buildings in town, the scale model. And we were right on the cusp of getting an okay, COVID,
Okay.
so.
I guess we have to look at the amount of space that's needed, and then look at the school to see where they could be placed.
It would also be ideal, because when you set them up, you have to put them together. And there's a nice area over there where they could be on display instead of on the common. You need electrical hookup. I had a lot of different people doing things, like we might have hot chocolate and cookies, and somebody would donate the hot chocolate. The fire department would make sure we had the lights and everything. The police department would stake 202, no parking. So it's a community thing. And I feel, in my heart anyway, that we need more community things to do together, to help one another instead of having our separate little kingdoms.
No, I like the idea, at least of keeping them set up in there, whether or not we have people go there to see them on display. But I think if they're all set up, they're easier to bring out and put on display more often than if you gotta set them all up, take them down, take them apart. So if they're already set up, and it's just the means of moving them from point A to point B for display, for whatever reasons, wherever, even something like, Charter Day or something like that. You can almost set up an area so they're on display, so people can see it at that point too. And so that's
Well, one of the things, people get confused as to why doesn't the GHA keep them? Well, we're the history part of everything. Why doesn't the Preservation Society keep them? Well, I don't think they have a space right now, but I think that you could touch almost any subject matter and apply it to the village. And most of the buildings were constructed in the 1800s. So you have a part of town. Plus, we're going to lose Aldrich. Not Aldrich, what do you call that?
The water wheel.
We're going to lose the mill.
Yeah.
And we've lost Dino Land, but we have those two buildings. We have replicas of those two buildings. And then there are other things that may go. Plus, it's using something that we have already, Western School. It's being used for something, and maybe it'll give other people ideas about how it can be better utilized.
Who has conservatorship of them right now? Is the Historical Society, or is it?
No, that's Cynthia.
Yeah, nobody has. We don't know who
No,
actually
no.
owns them all.
No, I just did all this.
Okay.
I put my heart, my money, and whatever. And I have a lot more. I think that.
Rick, do you want to see these?
Well, it'd be nice, like I said, to
we
at least
have
Yeah, I
some,
think I'd lived it.
videos
Oh, you
also.
did? Okay.
to put them on
It is.
display and
Yeah.
refurbish anything that needs to be refurbished. And kind of look at, if they need some painting and stuff like that, to kind of bring them up to,
Yeah.
the way they should look too. And I think if we have the opportunity and the ability to do that, why not?
I love the idea of getting Pathfinder or something about it.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
great.
that's what.
That's a great thing.
Pathfinder, I would like to get back, or have somebody get back to them,
Yeah.
because that just went poof.
Yeah.
How many are there, do you know?
Right now, we have seven or eight. We have the two churches, the original two churches, two houses, the mill. Then we added Bell's store, we added Dressel's, we added the library. Okay, so that's 8. Oh, the carriage shed behind the Church of Christ. Marty Merrill
Oh, yeah.
did that, Steve Merrill did Bell's store. And they, the people who were doing it, they wanted to do a good job
Yeah.
in what they did.
Of course they did.
And some of the people that I had asked who thought they were going to build, they had other things that they had to take care of, so they didn't do it.
No, the only reason I'm asking is how many rooms you're gonna need. It's just a regular old classroom size.
Well,
No, it's one of the reasons I'm saying,
Yeah.
if you build them all, I just wonder if you fit 10, 13 in there, I don't know how many.
Well, the classrooms are fairly large, especially when,
Yeah, they were, it
The
was like,
gym
for
would be
that.
great. I mean, if
Yeah.
there's a gym.
Well,
still,
I'm
or-
kind of thinking, to see how big the pieces are, because we gotta make sure if we're gonna keep them in one
You
piece,
can-
they fit through the doors.
Basically, tell by some of the pictures in there, somebody's standing near them.
I did, it's kind of, I kind of got an idea how wide it is. I saw there's a young woman standing next to one of it was the church. So I think it's just a matter of taking a look at them.
yeah.
And
But
see
easy
where they
to
would
take
fit.
Are they easy to take apart? If we had to take one or two apart and
You
just
can-
store in there?
Yeah, they can all be dismantled. Dressel's, one of the firemen he built it, but he forgot that there was a backside to Dressel's that went down, so that didn't get built. And maybe somebody would like to finish that.
Well, I think the start is to see how much, well, is anybody opposed to putting them in West Street School?
Now, what's the alternative plan if we ended up having to tear down the school?
If you tear down the
Or
school.
or reuse
and if
it.
nobody has an interest, I would go to the people who built, who helped out. Well, Kit Aldrich, I just called him up and said, Kit, found this building. Could you
Yeah.
spruce it up a little bit so we can put it on the common?
But if for storage purpose, I mean, we can always, if need be, when that time comes, look at a storage container or something like that, small.
I want a atmosphere controlled area,
Yeah, if they're built 100 years ago, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I wouldn't put them in just a storage container, because in the summertime,
Well, you can have a storage container that has the ventilation and everything in it. They're built out of wood. I mean, the wood's
but
not,
in the wintertime, you gotta be careful.
The frost and stuff that
Yeah.
builds up on them.
yeah.
I
Well,
could
we,
say something.
yes,
Part of this is the community working together, and you can find solutions without having to spend a lot of money. We didn't have any money
yeah,
to use. We just did it.
right.
And if you can inspire people, then
Well, I
something
think
will.
Yeah.
It's time for the next generation to step up, I get it.
Yeah, but to me, I mean, we can look at a temporary type of solution, and I know,
We'll cross that bridge. when it
right,
comes to
when
it.
the time comes,
Yeah.
if it comes. And we could obviously figure out a way to keep them in the proper condition that they should be in at that time. So I think, we can look at that, like, that's some time down the road. But first of all, if we're all in agreement that they can go to West Street School, I think our next part is to see the space that is needed and where they'd be located at West Street School. That's probably something we can have Jeremy take a look at. If right now they're at the fire department and they're in one of the bays, we'll have an idea of the amount of space that he would need, or we need to put that at West Street School, and kind of find the best place for it.
Okay. I still have bits and parts that I didn't put because
Yeah.
I didn't keep them with the buildings because I was afraid they would get lost in the mix.
Put them in a box.
I've got
Spare
something
parts.
like that.
Parts. But like I said, I think it's important to keep them all together, and then, when that time comes, like I said, if we can have them all set up and kind of take a look at them, and they need to be refurbished or anything like that this time, that's probably something to look at, see if there's something we can do. And you kind of talked about the community. Well, we have a lot of people that are very handy
Oh,
in the
I
community
know.
that would be,
I
I'm
know.
sure, be glad, to lend some time and even money or supplies to, refurbish some of the things. And
Any
Bring up the
restoration or
next
something, you can
one.
always reach out to the Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts for a
Yeah.
community service project.
Everybody.
but like I said, we have,
Everybody knew it was advertised. I called people, I told people, I talked to people.
Yeah.
And not this time around, because I was waiting, we didn't put them out because of COVID. And, when something like that happens, everybody just kind of disappears.
Yes,
So
they
it's a
do.
matter of new inspiration.
right, so like I said, I think we're all in agreement that we can relocate all of it to West Street School.
Yeah.
I think it's just get Jeremy to go up and take a look at it and see that they need the space that's required, and then go from there.
Where are they now, again?
They're in a bay at
The fire department.
At the fire department. We gotta get them out of there, too.
So,
Need a motion? Approve it?
I don't think
They're
so.
they're not out in any area that a fire truck needs to get into.
No, and
Yeah, just-
I'm sure the chief took care of all that and put them where they're not in any way of anything
Okay.
that's emergency equipment. So then next we'll connect with the chief and, see the time frame that he's thinking about, how soon they have to be moved, and then we'll go from there.
All right.
So,
Thank
yeah.
you for giving me the time, and I hope that we can do something good.
Yeah, I think so. We have the box truck too, so we'll be able to move some things, the van.
Thank you, Cynthia, for taking care of them for all
Yeah.
this time.
Thank you. I didn't mean to take up everybody else's time.
No, that was all your time.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you very much.
we'll keep them around for another 100 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And this is one of my helpers.
That was Nita, right?
Hmm?
That was Nita, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, our next appointment, it's not till 5:35. Chris, anything for next 5 or 10 minutes?
I do have a couple of common vics that came in after the warrant was posted,
Okay.
so I'd be able to try and have the board act on them. The first one is for CVS Pharmacy Inc., store number 7111. It's license number 22-52, fee of $25, expiring December 31st, 2022, and the address is 70 West State Street, Granby, Mass. The second one is for the First Presbyterian Church. It's number 22-51, fee $25, expiring December 31st, 2022. The address is 160 West State Street, Granby, Mass. As part of this packet, the permit fee waiver request form was included. They claim that they are a nonprofit. However, they did not include the IRS form indicating that they are a nonprofit, but they did include the Massachusetts Department of Revenue Certificate of Exemption, Form ST2. So I'm not sure if the board is going to waive based upon having that documentation. Or that's the top one.
Let's see.
Chris, are you familiar with the Chapter 64H? It says Section 60 or E of Massachusetts General Laws. Like, is that a nonprofit? Because it says it's tax exempt.
It's harder to be tax
Chapter
exempt
64.
than it is to be nonprofit.
Okay.
So, and most of your nonprofit, when someone that's tax exempt is nonprofit, usually. And I would think, and we know it's a church.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't have an issue authorizing it or approving that based on with the letter from the state of Massachusetts stating that they're
Right,
tax
and
exempt. And we know it's a church and
I'll make a motion to
I think
accept
Rick wants
both,
to see it first. Hold on.
common vics.
Like you said, so-
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Right, so I'll make a motion to accept common vic license 2252 for CVS, expiring on December 31st, 2022, and the common vic license for First Presbyterian Church, license number 2251, also expiring on December 31st, 2022. And also the church to waive the fee of $25.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? Okay. There we go.
Sorry, I
you.
on the bottom of the first one, and then on the second one I was on the top.
As long as we all sign it, doesn't matter where we sign. All set, right?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Edwards, sir. So we have John Edwards for Phase 2 of Dufresne tree removal, correct?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As you know, I produced a plan for the town's Dufresne Park, and part of that plan was to harvest timber over time. As you know, we completed the sale of about 35 acres of timber. That's in process. I think everything's inked at this point. Wonderful. Okay, so with that in mind, and without any further delay, if you guys think it's a good idea, I'd like to move forward with a second timber harvest there. Specifically in the southwest corner of the park. It's predominantly a white pine stand, about 45 acres, a lot of hemlock mixed into it. I'd like to remove as much of the hemlock as reasonably possible. And then some of the pine out of there that's really oversized pine. It'll be dramatic. It'll be a big change in there. It's pretty closed canopy forest right now. Not much in the understory growing. Not a lot of wildlife other than shelter. Makes good shelter. I jumped a fair amount of deer out of there when I was in there in the winter, back and forth. It's a good hiding place. They have the swamp along the edge as well that they tuck in pretty well. But it's time to do something with it, and the hemlock especially. We have the adelgid in there. It's present. It's very, very clear it's present. And opening up now would, I think, be a good first start to just get some sunlight around, get some new generation moving up in the canopy. I hope we can find an operator with the kind of equipment that Kennebec Lumber is planning to bring in there. They're going to do a whole tree chipping operation. And so a lot of the dead oak that's in place in this first harvest will be dragged out and chipped up. So we won't have a lot of material on the ground. I think that'll make the viewing public and the people who enjoy the park will enjoy a lot better scenic view than having a lot of debris on the ground. Pine is a little trickier. Pine chips are less valuable. And so, fingers crossed, let's see if we can't go through the same process, have a sale, and find someone that actually is willing to chip tops. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot of debris on the ground. So that's the downside, is the aesthetic of harvesting softwood. I think in terms of dollars and cents, it'd probably be about half as much as we're enjoying now. Pine is just not worth what oak is, even dead. I'm stunned at what you folks were able to garner for what is standing out there. Very pleased.
So could you just explain where the southwest corner is? So is that towards the back of the dog park? Is that the southwest corner?
It's rising up the hill.
Okay.
As you approach if you pull in off the Kendall, you've got a field.
Yep.
And there's a fairly, the harvest that's going to take place now is going to land everything in that field, the toe of the slope
Okay.
there, as closest to Kendall Street. If you take that trail and you rise up beyond the Frisbee Park,
Yeah.
you come to a main trail that runs right up south.
Okay.
Everything on the right, as you're walking up there, is
Okay.
hemlock. You go through a big pine stand first, right
Yeah.
at the Frisbee Park. That's the largest section of it, and then it sort of thins out as you go up the hill.
Okay.
It would include sort of bringing the wood down over the old dam site, down near where the old dam site is, to get it close to where the landing is now. I would propose that we focus our disturbance, our concentration of wood in the same place again, so we don't have another area of disturbance.
So how does that benefit the wildlife that's out there?
Well, it does in a couple ways. A closed canopy gives shelter, but it doesn't give much food resource. When you cut the timber, when you open up the sunlight by cutting the top, cutting large timber, you create holes, which create sun, which creates sprouting from the seed bank that's in the soil. There's millions of seeds in the soil just sort of waiting for their chance. And the opening up will give any pine that does get started as a result of these openings a place to go.
Right.
So you make a hole and nature fills it. It's really that simple. Seeds are there. So you get rubus, you get all kinds of other plants, raspberry, all kinds of soft mass, they call it. The birds like. Birds come in, they fledge their young there, they feed there, and then other things feed on them there. And so it's just this whole generation of wildlife activity, particularly birds.
It happens pretty quick too, Glenn. The place where I go deer hunting, the Coles Lumber owns it, and they cleared out a lot of the pines, and it sprouted up within 5 years. It starts with all the raspberries and prickers, which
Yeah.
are great for
Yeah.
deer to hide in.
Yeah.
Then you'll see the pine or whatever comes up.
You have a great pine resource there. So it apparently grows good pine because the pine there is really pretty tall and quite active. So I don't think we'll have any trouble generating more pine in there. I'd like to see a little more mix. The bigger the openings, the more you tend to get more than just pine. So the oak will have a better chance the larger the openings are.
And what's the hemlock trees? What is it? What is the hemlock?
The hemlock it's a conifer.
Yeah.
It's an important species. It's in many cases considered a keystone species for forest development and particularly for old growth development. But we have the hemlock lily adelgid, which is an insect. It's an aphid that sort of feeds on the needles of hemlock trees, thins out the crowns in the trees, and eventually, if it's infested long enough, it will kill the trees. So it's New England wide, I think, at this point. Really bad in Connecticut. It's getting bad here. And there are places where there's plenty of evidence of mortality. It'll kill the trees and they'll just stand dead. So I'd rather get out in front of it.
Is the hemlock
Makes
with
sense.
anything? Is it more of like a softwood?
It's a softwood.
Okay.
Definitely a softwood. It was a very important softwood during right up to probably 1950 was the go-to lumber for building, for structural timber. But It's hard to work with. It's certainly still saleable, but it's 30% the value of oak. But it grows more densely, so,
Yeah.
you know, there's a little bit of a trade-off there, but it's probably, all in all, I mean, acre per acre is half the value. But you have some good pine in there, and in a good pine season, a good pine market, you might do well with it.
So the only thing we're chipping off is the dead wood.
No,
They're gonna chip up again.
my hope is that a tree will get cut down, and the tree will have limbs and a top. And softwood can only be utilized down to about a 10-inch top, 9, 10 inches, depending on the markets. If there's a pulp market, maybe a little further into the crown, but sooner or later you end up with something that gets left on the ground. So my hope is that that material and the branches, they'll pull the trees whole, and they will clean them in the landing, shove the tops into the chipper, shove the branches into the chipper that don't get broken off, obviously.
Yeah.
And so the ground, the forest floor will not have heavy concentrations of branches, wood,
Yeah.
tops, that sort of thing. I mean, there's an argument that that's in a way a good thing. It creates habitat for rabbits, small mammals, hiding places, if you will. There's also some argument that leaving the tops is better for nutrient cycling, because you leave that organic matter on the ground rather than trucking it away. And still there's an argument that having those tops and all that tangle, the deer don't really like being in there. It scares them. They don't have a good footing. They don't have the ability to take off if somebody shows up with a shotgun. So they don't like to be in there. And because they're not in there,
Right.
the seedlings that are in there tend to have a better chance in some cases to get established and get up above the browse line. So it's a park. If it weren't a park, I think that I'd be less concerned, let's put it that way, less concerned about debris. Debris is part of life.
Right.
So it rots, goes away.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds about, you know, we have phase 1, well, it's underway, so I think it's important that we start planning for phase 2.
Would the plan be the following winter?
That would be my hope. Keep it in the winter, although I think that it's worth asking that if the board was approached by this first phase operator to start before winter, would you be willing to consider the idea? I mean, I put the winter constriction, I suggested that we not do it except in winter simply because the park is closed. And that the chance of interference or
Well, how much before?
Not sure. I think that we're running into some timing questions now about, okay, do we have to wait for winter? And I told them I would bring it up, that just to find out, just test the water to see whether it was possible that we could do it this fall.
Well, I guess it all depends what, you know, we define as winter. Are we talking about for the calendar, when winter starts? Or are we looking, you know,
Temperature, I think.
temperature
We were
wise?
talking about, we want the ground frozen.
Ground froze. That was,
Okay.
because we were concerned about the equipment and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
digging trenches,
Yep.
dragging out the wood and stuff.
However, I believe the company did indicate they would probably like to start late November, early December.
yeah.
And late November isn't that bad, to be honest with you. Park is closed. Park usually closes in October.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't have, I mean, I don't have a concern if the park is closed and it's not being used. My concern is that, you know, the ground could be soft. You could get some heavy rainstorms in, you know, late October, early November, that could soften up the ground. And, you know, my concern is any damage that they do to the ground, it's going to be repaired.
Yeah. No, that's a great segue into disturbance. The
Yep.
whole notion of logging is a fairly aggressive activity.
Yes.
on the ground. and we have a slope. You know, we're pulling wood downhill, and the last 100 yards is my biggest concern. And so I'm happy to, I'm not concerned about operating in non-frozen conditions. And the reason I'm not is because they're doing a whole tree operation. And what happens in a whole tree operation is that the trees come down whole, branches on. And in this particular case, what they're going to do is they're going to use a debarker and then a chipper. And so first the tree goes into this debarker, which is, I believe, a chain debarker where there's a chain beating on the tree to knock all the small branches off and all the bark off. And then after that, it goes into a chipper and gets blown into the truck. As that material is being beaten off the tree boles, it comes onto a conveyor and gets dropped onto the ground 10 feet away from the machine. Well, when the machines come down with trees, once this pile of chaff, or whatever you want to call it, builds up, they grab a hold of that and they bring it back up the hill. And when they have an issue with any disturbance or soil movement, that gets sprinkled up the trail. And by the time they get 2 days into the project, you're going to see this mat, a foot thick, of branches and small material that acts like a web and a mat.
Okay.
And it can be raining cats and dogs, and the soil doesn't move. It's just sitting on a mat of this material that's it's a foot thick. So because they're doing whole tree chipping, I just don't see mud as a problem. I certainly will keep my eye on it because I don't want this to be the crash test dummy that fails. So it's important to me that this goes well.
So phase 2 early is the next fall, not this
I don't want to get
November?
out too far over my skis, but ideally it would be next fall to winter.
Okay.
I think
I did-
this notion of doing it when the park is closed is the key to not having any conflict in use of the park.
Well, there's not gates or anything on the park, so I think you still got to run into some people.
Oh, I do,
Get
and I
in
did.
there.
When I was out there at marking,
Yeah.
I saw many of the same people walking dogs.
Yeah.
So it's a great dog area.
Yeah. And they let them off their leashes too.
Oh, they sure
It's
do.
Yeah, it's another no-no. I have a question about the cross-country course. I believe it goes straight up that road in the middle of that park.
Do they end
We
in-
need to find out when that, oh, Crystal, do you know when the season ends?
No, I'm thinking, I don't know, I would have
The
to check
last
with,
meet that they have is on October 11th.
I was gonna say
There you go.
October, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's on the road coming off the Kendall right up.
They,
No,
they start
they-
right in that, by the pavilion there.
Perfect.
And they do a loop and then up that and
They
they're,
run into the woods.
yeah.
It's a trail run.
Okay.
It's different than when I did it when I was in high school.
So the
It
hill
was
that you were talking
too
about,
far
they run
along
up
the
that, and then they go through that big, thick area of trees.
Pine?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
And then they go through that, and instead of going up towards the 45-minute trail, they go to the right where the 25-minute
Okay,
trail
down
is,
the
or
lower,
about
the lower
that.
slope.
Yeah,
Depending on if you're walking or running.
And they go through
but
that
they go through the
swampy area,
smaller
too.
I
one.
know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah,
Good segue, you know that area you were just talking about with the thick pines?
yes. It's
That
very
is
thick.
what we're hoping for. That's what we're trying to create, is a transition away from large trees
Yeah.
to a thick understory of pines, pushing their
Yeah.
way up, all together, all straight,
Yeah.
Right,
all high quality, because they're just fighting with each other to get to the sun.
right.
Yep.
And that's about 30 years old, I think. I think that was
I'm
done
not
a
sure.
long time, that was done about 30 years ago, I was told.
So it doesn't seem like it would have a conflict with that, because that's gonna end.
Yeah, not this year. I don't know about next year. It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, well,
Well, we plan for the same thing for next year. I mean, if things go well this year, the time frame and everything, then that's kind of the same thing we base on next year.
Yeah.
If there's some issues this year, then we know to do something different next year.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
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 Well, I'm all aboard getting phase 2 going. Sooner the better.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's,
Right
that's it.
away.
We have phase 1 underway, and I think it's important we start planning for phase 2 so we can move into it and be ready.
Get out the bids and
Yeah.
do what we
And
gotta
I
do.
think John was also looking, because the company was asking you when they could start phase 1. So are you also looking for a timeline this time? Because they
they
want
don't
to
have
start
a time.
before.
They don't have a date, they have a November, they're floating a date around November.
Okay.
That's so weather dependent, you know, there's a number of things that can make the November possible or not possible. So
Right.
I guess what I would say is, if you're willing to entertain the idea, I will let them know that you're willing to entertain the idea, and that'll allow them to work their work schedule, maybe so it becomes possible if it's acceptable to you.
I mean, I don't have an issue
Yeah,
just
I don't have an
based
issue
on
either.
how you said they would, you know, prepare and pack it, as well as how you spoke to that you'd keep an eye on it to make things, sure things aren't being, you know, ruined, if you will. I'd be okay towards the middle of November, start looking at that point in time. I don't want to do,
Yeah, maybe
you know,
coordinate
Weather
somehow
dependent.
with the cross-country schedule through there, and it'll
Yeah.
work.
I'll let them know that November's an option,
Yeah.
more to the middle,
I think more
Yeah.
towards the middle, yeah.
Yeah,
and that's weather dependent. If we start getting a
Yeah.
lot of rain,
Yeah,
they're probably not gonna want to get in there anyway.
right.
Nobody
Yeah.
wants to start in a muddy condition.
I
Now, are
think
we
the,
going to, sorry, Rick, are we going to be putting up signs, letting people know that it's happening? Because the people that walk their dogs and let their dogs roam free and stuff, we don't want them bothering the company
Yeah.
as they're cutting down trees,
and we don't want the loose dogs
getting hurt either,
going out and biting one of our loggers.
right? So we have to post it.
They have to
Well,
climb through a cab to get them.
I gotta imagine the company has signs they put up that notify there's stuff going on.
Logging going in.
You usually see, I've seen two types of signs. I've seen signs that are designated on the roadway that let people know trucks are entering and leaving. That's typically
Yeah.
a sign that you'd see.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea, right, Kendall? Just to let people know the trucks are entering and leaving right there. And the other type I've seen is more advertisement than anything else. It's promoting a company. And I'm not sure I necessarily think that's a good idea.
No, I'm looking for more,
Caution, trees coming down or something like that.
yeah, more general.
Logging
yeah,
starting soon.
Yeah.
general signs talking about safety and, you know, for us, we can have signs made up to say parks closed, but also say, you know, logging underway, no trespassing,
Okay?
so people know not to, you know, go up in those areas where they're taking down logs and stuff like that,
Okay.
and trees.
Size?
Depend what's on them, but I'm thinking probably,
Size of a political sign.
yeah, something like 2x3,
Okay.
something like that.
Let me come up with a design for a
You
2x3
know,
sign.
I mean, we have those signs that are for, actually, you know, whatever, for trash, whatever you bring in, take
Yeah,
out.
the-
Those little stand-up signs, I think those
Those would be fine.
be fine too. Placed, and about in different places too, so, you know,
Okay.
they're colorful, people see them,
Yeah,
you know, and so,
Trail closed, logging in process, something like that.
Perfect.
simple things like that, right, logging the process, you know, caution.
Caution.
Bright
Well, I
colors.
imagine too, you're
Yeah.
gonna be using that side, you know how the highway department put the rocks down? So if we can get even stakes with, I don't know if that the caution tape will hold up, but something there that nobody goes beyond that. Because the trucks are gonna be going in and out and logging that area, so we can't lock the gate. And nobody should be going beyond those rocks on that side while they're logging. That gives them enough distance if they drop a tree and it goes the wrong way, which it probably won't, they know what they're doing, but just
Well, we
for
can
safety
always-
reasons.
We can always lock the gate,
No, because they're gonna be going in and out.
but we can give them a key to the gate so they can open and come and
Well,
go.
let's see what works best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if we have to lock the gate, then we'll lock the
Right.
gate and give them keys. If that's
Yeah.
acceptable to you, maybe that's better.
You know, I think it's, you know, just, I think it's, they can come and go as they please and open the gate and leave, you know, lock the gate when they leave.
A lot of traffic in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
Park is closed.
Yeah, right, well, that's my point, so that's, and then
Yeah.
that's, you know, it's locked and,
You're gonna win friends and influence people without.
you know,
Well, then
but-
they can go to the Taylor Street side and use the dog
Yeah, they
park.
could do that too.
Yeah.
There'll be workarounds. That's
But when
not-
the gates, yeah,
Yeah, you're right. I mean, if you close off the Kendall entrance, they're
Yeah.
just gonna come in the other way, and you'll
Yep.
know to stay away from that zone, and that's why you lock the gate.
Yeah.
right, and it's, like I said, important to have the signs, they're not like that expensive, we can look at purchasing some as well, and they can be scattered about the park in that area, so people see and they understand that. Obviously, they're gonna hear the equipment, they're gonna see the trucks and stuff like that. find it hard to believe they're gonna start wandering up in those areas as trees are coming down.
You never
It's fun
know.
to watch the, it's fun to watch big machines. The tractor
So,
machines,
it is.
trust me.
But I think that's why, you know, and like I said, having the signs up and stuff like that, and I don't know if they put up caution tape or the orange fencing or what they may
Yeah.
do, but,
Let me see if we can't come
Yeah.
up with a creative way to make
yeah,
at least make it obvious that this is not where you're supposed to be.
that's it, right?
Yeah.
This is, yeah, it's, you know, if you will, a construction area, but it's, you know, for safety, yeah.
All right.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, appreciate it. A lot of good stuff. Do we have any citizen participation this evening?
Dennis, and did you want to speak to the board?
Well, I was,
So they can
Yeah,
hear
you
you.
just gotta come up and state your name and your address, please, sir.
hi,
Hi.
I'm Dennis LaFleur, and I have Happy Days Family Fun Spot. Anyway, I've been closed since November 1st, 2019. I'm ready to open, but I'm still waiting to pull the trigger on a couple things happening. So I was going to ask if I had asked that they review the bylaws, okay? And I guess that's been done it's been rewritten. I don't know what it pertains to, but it hasn't been passed in front of the town yet, because the town has to approve it. Is that gonna happen soon?
For what? What bylaw?
It's the bylaws pertaining to, well, all the, I believe it was, my section was regarding having a tag sale at a business. Right now you can't. And I was curious as to why not, and of course, I think they might have changed it, but I don't know what the bylaw is, you know, what the outcome is.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Chris.
Okay. We had the General Bylaw Review Committee
Mm-hmm.
that was headed by Al Wishart.
Yep.
And I want to say it's probably about 2 years ago that he came in front of the board with a proposed new set of bylaws. That was presented to town meeting under the tent one year.
Yep.
And it was hot, people were tired, and it was starting to get into a long debate, and they tabled the bylaws indefinitely at that meeting, okay? Because the finance committee had issues with some of the grammar and the punctuation, wording, so on and so forth. I have received a copy from the finance committee with their proposed edits. We have to bring that back in front of the board, okay? See if you agree with those edits, present them, have a hearing, and then bring them forward to town meeting for approval. Additionally, subsequent to that, when we forwarded the recall bylaw down to the legislature, they had concerns with language in it from the elections division. We have to make changes to the recall bylaw to address the concerns of election, bring the revised bylaw to town meeting, and then get that going also again. So it's basically being able to get together, sit down, review any of the changes, and then decide when we're going to bring it back to town meeting. We have been planning a special town meeting sometime in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
We could do it then, along with some other things that we're planning on doing, because we have a storm water bylaw that we have to address. We have a request from the state to be able to swap land regarding the School Street roundabout issue that's going on up there. Okay, so we do have some topics, but I just don't know when we will be scheduling that meeting.
And in the meantime, you haven't been able to have your tax sale?
Well,
Okay.
I wanted to see, I really would like to have a weekly flea market on Sundays.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking to do. And it would be 6 to 3 o'clock, usually, that's all. They don't have them, I guess, any longer on 47. And it certainly, I've had auctions there, a couple in the past, and other sales, and right now, it's still being closed. I'm getting ready to dispose of some stuff, so I'd like to know how I can, if it's gonna happen, and so, that's why it's important to me, how that turns out, because I have to make some decisions. I've been closed for almost 3 years, and it's now or never, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Did 47 close down permanent, or did they just shut down for COVID?
I don't think they're opening at all.
Again?
Yeah. It doesn't appear it. They would have opened by now, you know, the summer's the best
Well,
time.
for the fall time too, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Have to ask.
Well, they could have the reasons why they haven't opened either, so we don't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
But, well, I'd have to look at the bylaws as far as, you know, to
Yeah,
to
exactly.
allow
I
that.
don't know which one is about the tax sales.
Well, the tax sales, that's something that, like you said, that's gonna be changed through the bylaws at a town meeting. But the other part, as far as having a flea market on every Sunday, that's something that's not in the bylaws, so it's.
And I don't think that was addressed as part of the revised bylaw to allow flea market every weekend.
Yeah,
What's the difference between a flea market and a tax sale?
Flea market usually have various vendors come in.
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And sell
Yeah.
in one spot, whereby a tag sale is usually held by one person or organization.
Nation, yep. Okay.
And I think they have something for the flea market. I thought they had some kind of schedule of a flat fee.
Yeah, I'd have to read the
Yeah,
bylaws. I'd have to look at the bylaws, see if it allows for that or not.
Well, okay,
Go from there.
all I ask is that, you know, if you can look into it and stir it up, see what's happening.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely look into it, and I'd like to see if we can move forward with some of the other bylaws. As Chris mentioned, we do have a special town meeting coming
Yeah.
sometime in the fall, so it would be nice to put on as much as we could for that agenda
Yeah.
to get covered at that meeting versus, you know, pushing it out to the spring.
Sure.
So that's definitely something we can look at, and we'll follow up with the proposal changes from the Finance Committee in regards to the tax sales, and then we can look at the other ones in regards to the other things that Mr. Martin brought up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd definitely like to, you know, move forward on it,
Okay, that's all I ask.
Yeah.
so.
Thank you.
All right,
Dennis?
Thank you, Dennis. Good to see you again.
Yeah.
all right. Any minutes for approval?
from last week? Yeah, the poll hearing
Yeah,
stuff.
several weeks ago. Last meeting.
Last meeting, yeah.
Several weeks ago.
Yeah, I read it.
Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
I will make a motion to accept the minutes from August 22nd
Well, second.
as written.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? Okay. Thank you. Correspondence here.
I think the drought was in there, the update on the drought,
Yeah.
bridge inspection.
So I look at the report on the bridges, and when you read the routine inspection, it looks fairly good. Then you get down to some of the remarks and look at the pictures,
Yes.
they look alarming. But, I mean, I don't know if that's just, looks more alarming to me, because I don't know a lot about bridges and bridge repair and stuff like that, so, but I mean, the report kind of, you know, says things are pretty good. Just looking at the markings and stuff like that, as far as how they grade it, it just kind of maybe, you know, like I said, sometimes looks worse than what it actually is. So, I mean, the pictures just look, some of them look like, oh my, you know, like, wow. But again, like I said, when they're looking at it and they're looking at it, those are the professionals, and they're grading it as to, in the inspection, how it, you know, it's going to stand up for the future. But then again, it may be, you know, some things that need to be taken care of. Just a matter of when we do that.
Yeah, there was a couple of them, like you were saying, that were in poor condition, that will need to get taken
Yeah.
care of, but the rest of it was in good condition.
What's throwing off the pictures?
Just look at some of the pictures, but I mean, that's just a
Yeah.
yearly report we get anyway, so.
Yeah.
And that will be passed, I mean, obviously Dave has probably seen it already, and it's just an ongoing, you know, projects for us to repair our roads and our bridges. It's not new, I know it comes every year.
Yeah.
For our inspections. And the state does inspection on all the bridges.
Does Dave have a cycle at when he like fixes different things? Because it's Chapter 90 fund, so,
I have no idea what the schedule is on that. so.
okay. Because I know we're limited on how much funding we get, so I didn't know if he had like a cycle of when he takes, like he repaves the road and then he takes care of a bridge as things fail on it.
I would
Okay.
suggest that you probably have
Reach out, yeah.
Yeah.
I know he addressed this on the, he does have it for the paving of the roads. It's like every They try to get it 18 to 22 years, is what he told me.
For
one
each
time.
road.
It's in, it's in a cycle
It's
process.
in a certain,
The roads.
the
roads are-
roads, but I don't know about,
The bridges, no.
I have no idea about the bridges.
But I would imagine that through the inspections, when concerns come up,
Yeah.
Dave looks at those, and I would imagine take priority over certain things, and looks at funding, and, you know, if something needs to be repaired, then it's, you know, it's being repaired, where, you know, instead of paving a certain road this year, well, those funds go towards, you know, repairing the bridge. And he sees this, that's his area, and looks at it, so,
So then we just get it as an overall review of what that grade was on that bridge, so to speak?
The state
and
does
then-
the inspection. And
yeah, the
Right.
state's notifying that the Mass DOT did the inspection.
Yep.
They're notifying us
Okay.
as a select board, but also Dave, as the superintendent for the highway department, has a copy of it too, so.
Right.
And we can, you know, we can have Dave come in and, you know, talk to us about it if we want further information as to, you know, some of it, and he may be able to even explain it better to us.
Right.
You know, kind of looking at this and what does this mean, what does, you know, some of the gradings mean, and, you know, as far as the pictures and things like that, so that's his area of knowledge and stuff like that,
Yeah.
so. And some things where, you know, bridge repair, some things maybe have to be, you know, contracted out. Or it's not in his ability to repair certain things, so. But we can bring him in, ask him to come in and talk to him about it and get some more information on it.
Because I know we got another one prior to this meeting at one of our other meetings
Yep.
as well, where it needed some work done too. So,
Just like roads,
Yeah.
they deteriorate and, you know, they gotta be kept up and stuff like that. So we're not replacing bridges, we're maintaining them.
yeah.
So, Chris, maybe we can look at having, maybe Dave come into our next meeting, just kind of talk to us about it, he can give us some additional information for us. All right. Chris, did you have anything else before we move on to our new business? No? Okay. You all set, Crystal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
We can move on to departmental reports. Everybody have a chance to review them?
I have,
Anybody have any questions, comments,
no,
concerns?
no,
No?
not for me.
I did want to reach out to Kathy and Chris and just ask more about the GRANBY MVP action grant that the planning board had submitted. So just to know more about it, but they had it in their minutes. And I was just curious as to what that action grant was. So,
That's the planning board.
yeah,
Okay. So
okay.
we'll get a report from them.
Yeah.
I think it had to do with the master plan, I think.
Might have been. Yeah, we can even ask someone from the planning board to come in and speak with us too. I'm sure someone will be glad to kind of come in and talk to us about it.
I will make a motion to accept the departmental reports.
Is there a second?
I will second that motion.
Any further discussion?
None from me.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? No. Crystal, how about the maintenance warrants?
All right, so we have 3 warrants. The first one is a payable warrant, fiscal year '23, number 14, dated August 26, '22, in the amount of $280,837.72. The next one is also a payroll warrant dated 9/2/22, fiscal year '23, number 15, in the amount of $435,418.12. And then the maintenance warrant is fiscal year 23, number 16, dated September 2nd, 2022, for $80,586.55.
All right. Is there a second?
A second.
Is there any further discussion in regards to the warrants?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? Now we have approve and sign the IAFF contract. That is the contract for the firefighters.
And that is, these are warrants. So where is that contract? New business. There it is.
Yeah, there it is.
All right, so do you want me to read the front page, or how do you guys usually do it? Or
We
make
can
a
read
motion?
the front page, just the agreement. Just,
Okay.
um,
So Article 38, duration, this agreement shall be effective as of the date of ratification by the union and shall remain in effect through June 30th, 2025, and shall remain in full effect until a successor agreement can be negotiated or until either party gives written 30-day notice of termination, whichever date is later. No notice of termination may be effective before July 1st, 2025. So do you want to do the in witness whereof?
No.
Okay.
What I'd like to do is just kind of go over some of the main points in the contract,
Okay.
just for us to kind of be transparent with the people so that they know some of the things that are the highlighted areas that what I think were the biggest changes. And the thing what I look at is just like anything is the pay scale for them through the contract and through the bargaining with them, with their union. I believe it is a 5% raise for the first year, followed by 2% and 2%. And the 5% for the first year, I believe, keeps them on pace what we did for all the employees that are not under any type of union contract for the town. And these are cost of living raises too. So 5% for was it 2023,
Yes.
and then 2% for 2024, and 2% for 2025.
Then to the holiday schedule, we added the new federal and state holiday, Juneteenth.
Yes.
That was added in because, they're entitled to all state and federal holidays.
Right.
And then the only other item that I think we dealt with was call-in or staying later after a shift. I think they get a minimum of 2 hours for callback or
That's right,
staying
yep.
after a shift, so.
Okay. All right.
Want me to sign?
No, we need to vote.
No.
You can sign.
Yeah, I read it.
So I will
Part
make
of
a
it.
motion to accept the IAFF contract as written.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion at this time?
No.
No? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is anybody opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
That's it. We talked about the Dufrane's playground because they weren't able to do anything there because of the rain. We talked about the update for Munson Ridge and next our long-range planning committee for old business. Anybody have anything that they want to bring up for our next meeting before we close?
No.
No? Crystal?
So is the long-range plan committee, are we supposed to do something with that, or is that going to happen? I
Well,
guess.
it can happen if we want it to happen.
Okay.
That's fine.
So I know Chris had said that there's usually a joint meeting between the finance committee, the school department, and
Yep.
the select board, right?
Yep.
Are there any other stakeholders at that meeting, like citizens or anything?
No, that's who it's been in the past.
Okay.
It's been the three boards. So we can probably look at doing that, I would say sometime in, maybe towards the end of October. Let's get through then and look at our special town meeting too. I want to make sure we get that on the
Yeah.
agenda and get the needed
Okay.
information for that.
But we'll do that before October though, right? Or we're gonna do that in October?
I think
So
probably
Chris
sometime
wanted to do-
October. We're looking
okay.
at sometime in the fall, and it probably won't be till November at this point, because we're into our first week of September, so I don't know if
Yep.
we'll be able to get things set up by then.
Okay.
I know, one thing I want to look at too, I know at our last meeting, we had a lot of discussion about the West Street School. And the more I thought about it after, I think it'd be good to have someone who represented the previous study that was done there. Again, I think when that study came out, that might have been my first year on the board, second year on the board. So I think if we're talking about thoughts of what some of the ideas that came up about the West Street School and some of the things that we were talking about possibly doing, I think it's important to hear from the individuals that were part of that study.
Why they
first on.
recommended what they did?
Yes, because
Yeah.
I think it's important to hear from them versus just us kind of, if we look at the study and read the study, it'd be nice to hear what, they were a part of it, and they had some interaction with different people in regards to the use and things like that. So I think it'd be important to hear what their thoughts and views and ideas were as we're moving forward. Because I think that's, if we're gonna keep that, and I think it's important to kind of keep that on, I'd say the front burner, but in between somewhere there, that we're still addressing it, we're still looking
I
at
would
it.
love to
And,
talk to them about it.
Yeah.
I've already,
right, so I think it's important, it's, these, I look at as them at one point in time, they were stakeholders, and they were set with a task, and they provided that task, or the results of that task to.
who's it, Brian and Lou and who else?
It's right here. It's Virginia Snowpack.
Yeah,
Brian
Virginia was on it.
Rothschild.
Yeah.
Snowpack, yeah.
So maybe we can reach out to them, see if they're available to, at one point in time, to come in and sit down with us and kind of talk about the study. And I think, I would imagine they
How about
they
bringing
would.
their engineer in that made the recommendations? Get to know why, or you just want to go through them?
Well, we'll go through them. I think they can speak to that. They had the conversation with the engineer and what that thought was as far as his I don't know if it's him or her, but that firm to take down West Street School. And I think going into it, there was thoughts and ideas of renovating West Street School.
I'd be interested to hear why nothing's been done.
Well, I think the important piece is that this is someone, again, we're gonna hear from them that heard from the engineer. And this is someone that, a study was done to kind of look at it, and it'll give this committee, or this board, the opportunity to listen to some more information as we're moving forward to look at making some decisions.
I'd rather report it.
Yeah, so,
I think another thing we should also do too, just from going to the senior annual picnic today, talking to the COA members and the friends of the COA, I think we should get their take on whether or not they want to have a joint building with the town offices. So from what I heard from today, from many of them that voiced their opinion to me, is they want this building back. They don't want to be relocated somewhere else, and they don't want to be part of the town offices. So I think that's something that we have to take into consideration. I mean, I know in the end, it could be it is our decision, I guess, or it's the people's decision. They're gonna vote in the end. But a lot of them voiced to me today that they don't want to be part of the West Street School. They wanna stay in this building. And they have enough space between the two floors to carry out the classes that they wanna have, and the computer. They want to buy, they have a lot of goals, a lot of goals.
And as we move forward, this is all good information
Yeah.
to us, for us to.
I've talked to a few that said the exact opposite of that, so it'd be good to hear from all of them together.
Yeah, and then
Everybody
have
has,
Everybody has their opinion.
everybody
Right.
has their views and their opinions, just like this board does.
Yeah.
But it'd be good to hear from people, and I think that's, again, as we move forward and we obtain more and more information, as we get to that point to start talking about really moving forward with everything, it'd be great to have people's input on what they want. But at the end, I think we do what is, I think will be, well, it's the most responsible as far as the cost to the town, and what we do that's appropriate. So the needs of the town are met, but also at the least amount of money that the town would have to spend. I think that's important as well. All right. So, with that said, unless there's anything else, that brings us to the close of our regular meeting at this time. We have an executive session scheduled for 6:30. Imagine that is 6:31, so we've done pretty good on time. So we're going to move into executive session under Mass General Law 30A-21-A, Section 2, and that is for us to discuss contracts, negotiations. So with that said, we'll go into a roll call vote, and we'll come out of executive session only to adjourn our normal session at that time. So roll call vote at this time.
Bull, you're right.
Sexton, aye.
Dufresne, aye.
There we go. Thank you.